Yo, what's up? What's up? Welcome to Salt Lake Takes back with another episode here, September 14th. We're about, I just closed my computer screen out. Awesome, great start. All right, yeah, so we're about a month away from the NBA season at this point. About a little like 2 weeks away from training camp now. We're getting inching closer and closer to the season. It's getting a little bit exciting here, but still, we got like a month to go. Still a little bit of time on our hands here to keep like predicting and talking Jazz here. So got some more things to talk about. But we're here again. We already got a question from Vesper in here from YouTube. Popping up early. Appreciate it, Vesper. Who are your guys' realistic trade target? Should they become available? Dame is too old in my opinion, but I wouldn't mind sacrifice some assets. Should Levine or DeJounte Murray become available? Um, yeah, I think that's an interest. I probably agree with this current timeline that Dame would be too old. With everything considered, like how much is really like Dame gonna raise the ceiling of this team? Like if you're making a move for a championship or like a superstar, I had a different viewpoint about this like 2 months ago. But if you're gonna trade for a superstar level player with the assets that we have, it needs to be like the perfect trade. With the amount of capital that we have, we need to wait and pounce on that when that time comes. And I don't know if Lillard's gonna be that guy because he would probably take a ton of assets to make that happen. But like a guy like Levine or Dejounte Murray, I think is a great target. If they were to become available. I'll go between those two because I think if you're looking for like all stars that or like all star caliber kind of players that aren't quite superstar but wouldn't take that amount of assets, Levine might be. Honestly, I would probably go Dejounte Murray because he's probably what this team would need. More so because he does have that playmaking and defensive ability that stands out. Honestly, Dejounte Murray would be the perfect point guard for this team because he doesn't command too much of an like a offensive like he doesn't need to shoot the ball to really be effective. He can find ways to be effective on the other end of the floor or just passing the ball, and that's probably what this team would need more than anything right now. But if that would take like 2, 3 first round picks to get it done, if he was available, I wouldn't hate that at all. Um, but yeah, I would sacrifice maybe like a young player or a few picks here and there for a guy like Dejounte Murray because you know what you're going to get out of him. He's an all star level player. With picks down the line, they're a little bit more uncertain. But with these star players, they're going to pop up here and there. That's not a bad move, really. If I were the Jazz and that popped up, I would definitely consider that. But appreciate the question. Thanks for stopping by pretty early. But yeah, we'll get on to our topic of the day here. That looks a little better. Yeah. We got some expectations to talk about for Utah next year. Ceiling, floors. What is really going to happen for Utah? I think it's kind of all over the board as things kind of stand right now. I think the national media is more kind of the same as they were last year, or how they kind of like are like they're like probably bottom 10 in most national power rankings. They're like around the middle. They haven't really changed much. But I think Jazz fans are more a little bit, on edge about that. I've seen some Jazz fans predict like a top 8 appearance. I've seen some be as low as like a bottom 10 type of team, and it could bounce either way. Really, got Ozwaki Andrew in here. What's going on? Appreciate you showing out. Ozwaki Andrew showing up the stream. Appreciate that. But it's probably a good time to look at the Jazz or kind of break down the Jazz roster of how it is right now, because the team does have 21 players on the roster right now, and I wouldn't really expect that to change. So what we have is kind of what we have, and analyzing that from top to bottom, it's probably safe to do at this point. There's teams like Portland and Miami that probably can't do this at this point, but Utah is in a good place where they can. They're pretty stable over here. But my question is at this point for the Jazz is, what do they expect from this roster? Because I would probably pin them in their eyes. They probably see this as more of a playoff level team, maybe not like a top type of contender for the conference, but at least creating a bid for that, like towards the bottom of the conference isn't unrealistic, really. And that's kind of what Utah is banking on with the moves that they've made at this point. It's trying to trade for it's trading for John Collins, getting your value there, and bringing on young talent, and sticking with the core that you've kind of already established, and trying to make the most of that before you're going and making any drastic moves. But will they reach those hopes of making a playoff appearance? It's unpredictable at this point. But I'll go through what I can expect, or at least I'll go through what we can expect at the very best with our ceiling or the floor. And I think somewhere in the middle is where you're going to fall. But I think getting a range of like what would be the sky high for this team and the low, like I think getting that gauge kind of gets you a better sense of where this team really stands. You know what I mean? We got Logan coming here. Could Collins return to All-Star caliber play this season? I don't think so. Well, okay, I'd kind of write him off a little bit too early. Collins, so he wasn't quite an all-star when he was in Atlanta. Well, he was putting up really good numbers, but it wasn't really on the best team. Like he was putting up 20 and 10, really good numbers, but the team Atlanta put up like 20 games in that season. So yeah, he did put up really good counting stats, and people are going to say he was a 20 and 10 guy, but it wasn't really on the best team, which I think kind of takes a little bit of a hit. But he's still a really good player. I'm not going to take anything away from him. It's just that a lot of players on this team kind of overshadow him or what kind of role he's going to have next year. Because if it's getting down to it, who are you going to prioritize on offense? It's probably going to be Lauri Markkanen before John Collins. Probably Jordan Clarkson if things stay true as they were last year. Colin Sexton's going to have a little more time to get established in that offense. And then you have the rookies coming in. I think Collins can be a really effective player for this team if utilized correctly. But to return to the form that we saw really early in his career when he was on like a youthful like Atlanta team that was just rebuilding and kind of just throwing players out there and seeing what they had. I just don't think on a team like the Jazz, when they have so much talent deep down the roster, that he's going to show up like he did on a team that didn't have that. You know, like again, he could surprise me. And I think it'd be great if he could come in averaging 20 and 10 again. But I just think the bodies on this team right now kind of prevent that. Yeah, but we'll get into what I think is probably the most important aspect of how this Jazz season will really go. And it really, I don't want to put it all of this on one player because, of course, there's 15 players on the roster. It's not going, all of this season's not going to come down on one player. But at the end of the day, it really comes down to how good Lauri Markkanen can play. If you look at teams and how, you know, how they can really capitalize on their team and their structure for every season, you're going to see the best players on the best teams rise to the top. You look at last year. Look at the East. The East is a perfect example. It's not going to shake out as well as this goes, but top of the conference, you have Giannis, you have Embiid, and you have Tatum. And then, of course, you have later on the list, you have like Donovan Mitchell. And then like you have like, you know, more teams that are like more like better teams. But at the end of the day, the star talent is going to rise above everything else. Especially in a conference like the West, like you have so many talented players that are on so many talented teams that it makes making a bid for that competition that much harder, which is why the success of Lauri Markkanen is so important because he had a really good season last year. He averaged like 25 and 8 and shot really efficiently. But again, he's still not that top 15 type of player that you'd love to see Utah have, but he just doesn't quite have that yet. And I think until Utah really gets a player like that, and maybe it does become Markkanen. That's why I'm saying this season does fall on Markkanen. Once Utah does get that piece and that really like that number one option on a really good team, once they secure that, they're going to be much better off, and they're going to have they're going to have a very strict direction of where they're going once they find that player. But they don't have that right now. They have Lauri Markkanen, who could be elite number 2 type of quality. Like I think from what we've seen from Lauri Markkanen right now, he has a few limitations as far as it goes. Like he's not the best on-ball playmaker. He's not really getting a ton of teammates involved. He's not doesn't have the ball in his hands like that. He's more of an off-ball kind of presence, and he's more of a one-dimensional type of guy. Like he's an offensive type of player. He's not really like much of a defender. He does have the size for that type of stuff, but he doesn't showcase that like you'd want to see. He has all the tools for this to become a top 15 type of player. Like he has the build, he has the shooting stroke you'd want to see, and it's like all the tools are there. He just hasn't made the extra jump. Again, last season was great in itself. I think you made like this. The team doesn't probably win 30 games without Lauri Markkanen last year, but for Utah to make that extra step, it has to come a little bit more. And and that's a tall ask for this team to really make a lot of noise in the West. But that's what needs to happen when you're competing in a conference with guys like LeBron, AD, nightly basis, Luka, Jokic, Curry, KD. These are all like teams that are going to be in that Western Conference hunt that you need to keep an eye on. And if Utah doesn't have the type of players to match up with that, there's no shot of them going to be able to reach the top, like a top 6 seed. And that's not that's not the true expectations for Utah right now. I mean, of course, they're still on like a rebuilding type of mold right now. But in a team and in a conference like the West, you look down at like the 8 and 9 seeds, like the Minnesotas and like New Orleans. If everything goes right for them, they could be a top 4 seed. Like even guys that are towards like the very bottom of this conference have a case to be a top 4 seed in this conference. That's what I'm saying. That it's like if Utah really wants to show out next year and like make this giant jump that everyone's expecting them to make, or not giant jump, but make that next step that everyone's expecting them to make, they really need to show out because everyone else around them will be doing that. Like for example, let's say if you keep this exact same Jazz roster, keep it the exact same as is, but you replace Lauri Markkanen, and this is more of like an overstatement, but let's say you replace Lauri Markkanen with a similar guy, similar like play style build type in like KD. He's gonna play the same position, be that primary scorer. Again, KD is miles above the type of player that Lauri Markkanen is. That's the point I'm trying to make here. Like you put KD on this same team, this team's probably a top 16 in the conference. I don't think it's like I think it's a well built, deep team that has enough ammo down the chart to really make it tough for any team on a nightly basis. But it's the star talent that this team is lacking that really like hinders them from making like like a playoff push. What you'd really hope from this team. Like you can get all the growth from the young guys you want, but at the end of the day, it's not going to result in much more than a first round exit. But like it's not going to all fall on Lauri Mark. Like obviously, like you have Walker Kessler, who's going to probably make a big jump if he makes it like a real like he's going to get a lot more minutes next year. He's probably get a lot more responsibility on the defensive side, more than he already had. So if he's going to come out and be the anchor of that defense and lead to such a good unit, I mean that's going to boost Utah stock a little bit more. Clarkson's coming off an elite stretch in FIBA. If he can keep that going and keep that hot streak going, I mean Utah has a ton of pieces that they can put together, and if everything goes well, they can put up a winning record. But even with the running record, is that enough to get a top 8 seed in the West? Probably not. It's probably not. Maybe the competition evens out that much to where Utah can sneak in, but you got to be really good to make the playoffs in the West. Because last year, I'm even thinking last year, like it was New Orleans, OKC, and Dallas that missed. All three of them will be better. So the Jazz will have to be better than all three of them, as well as probably one more in the playoff hunt already. It's just a lot. It's a lot to chew. It's a lot to bite off and chew. But if all the guys in starting lineup kind of find their groove, like Collins comes in, like Logan was saying earlier, if Collins comes in, averaging 20 and 10, or not even just that, but if he just finds a nice spot in this rotation, I don't know, like if it's the Jazz roster is very concise and has a lot of really good pieces, which I think is what drives this team forward. And I think talking like grand ceiling win wise, I could probably see about 44 games because I was looking at it earlier, like what would be a nice win mark for this team. Let me pull it up real quick, just get a reference for myself. So it's last season. If you look at the West last season, can I pull this up? Let's see how easily I can share this screen live. Slides. Nope, we're not doing that. Share screen. Here we go. Yes, share. Maybe. I think we're kind of getting it down. Okay, here we go. Okay, that's the first time I've done that. That's hard. All right. So look at this conference. I predict I'm going to say the ceiling for this team next season is 44 wins. And if you're looking at it right now, that puts them at about a 6-7 seed in the conference. So I think predicting like above 50 wins probably a bit much, but like around that range of about 500 is going to be fair for about a lot of teams in this conference. So if anything above 500 is a win in my opinion, and I think the Jazz really have the pieces to make it happen. It's just how well can everything really connect. Got Car Wash channel popping in. What's up, Car Wash? Love seeing you pop around. We got Ozwaki Andrew come back. Are the Jazz basically relying on their health in order to make the playoffs? They stay healthy and others don't. That's a really good point to make because you look at how the end of this conference really here. Let me pull this back up for reference. I think that makes more sense. Let's look at how the conference ended last year. At the very end, you have the Timberwolves. Towns played like 30 games. They didn't even get the full experience of what they were trying to do there. So that's a team that didn't get health to fall their way, and they fell out the playoffs. Pelicans, Zion wasn't healthy. So they weren't fully loaded, ready to go, and it shows. They didn't make the playoffs. Or wait. Okay, wait. I said Minnesota didn't make the playoffs. They made the playoffs, but again, 8 seed, they weren't as good as everyone expected them to be. Thunder, a young team, but Chet was injured. They weren't fully loaded going into this year, and the Mavs didn't have Kyrie for the entire season. So all 4 of these teams that the Jazz would have to beat were not full strength last year. So and the Jazz weren't either. That's the thing. The Jazz were not full strength going down the stretch. So again, like it makes it hard for me to pin the Jazz as better than all 4 of these teams. Now, if an elite like if a jump or another Lauri Markkanen jump were to happen, or if one of the young guys pops up, like Keontae George pops off, again, this is all very possible, but it takes that giant jump for that to do that. Car Wash comes in saying, I say 60-1 is a good record. I would agree. I think 61-0 would probably be a little bit better, but 60-1, I can't really complain with that one. That Jazz need to do good this next season. Last season we played bad. 37 wins. You probably want to see a little more than that. Once you actually, once their players are actually playing 9 in, 9 out, and they're playing competitive for 82 games of the year, you will see some improvement. But again, it does a lot of the Jazz's success this next season relies on how well the other teams do in this conference. Because I think top to bottom, or let's not even say top to bottom, or like depth wise, the Jazz are some of the best in this conference. But top heavy wise, the Jazz don't really have that star talent to compete. And I think in the NBA, that's what you really need is that star talent. And it's going to be tough to find that. Jazz Linsanity run to the Western Conference Finals this year. Again, a Linsanity run is just that. It's a Linsanity run. So I'm not going to count that out and say it's not going to happen. But I think if the Jazz were to find a way to win a playoff series this next year, that is an absolute win. I'm not even going to say that. If they find a way to make the playoffs, that is an absolute win. If they made the Western Conference Finals, that Lauri Markkanen would have to turn into KD or something at that point. If there was like a percentage chance of this realistically happening, I'd probably put it at about like 1.5, maybe lower. But this would be fun. It would be fun to watch for sure. But realistically, the title of this stream is Realistic Jazz Expectations. I'm going to say no to this one. So this is not realistic. I'm going to say no. I hope we go 82-0. I do too. I think that's a good or 79-1. Yeah, no. 79-1 or 82-0. Nothing else. Vesford, does Walker Kessler and Taylor Hendricks have a higher defensive ceiling than Rudy and Royce? Ceiling wise, I'm definitely saying yes. And it's not anything against Rudy, because I think Rudy and Kessler are going to be very, similar kind of roles. Like they're same kind of build. Walker's more of like, he's got more, more muscle, and he's not as lean as Rudy, but height wise, he's like shot blocking they're going to say play same or similar defensive roles. Maybe Rudy has a higher ceiling on that end because he was a 3-time defensive player of the year. Oh man, that's actually a really tough question, because Hendricks has a lot to give on the defensive side, but we haven't seen much. Considering, okay, I won't let recency bias take hold of me right now. I'm going to say, considering the Jazz had one of the best defensive teams in the league, and Rudy Gobert was a 3-time defensive player of the year, I'm going to say that it's a little much to think that there's a higher ceiling here. But there is a really good defensive front court that can happen. But as good as that one, though, I don't know. I know Rudy Gobert gets a bad rap right now, but I mean, he was a defensive monster during that 3-year stretch. Dude, I don't know if Walker Kessler is going to win 3 Defensive Player of the Years, and it's not to say that D boys are the end all be all when it comes to measuring defensive metrics, but again, he got those awards because he led such a really good defense. And this is kind of like disregarding Royce, because I think you have Taylor Hendricks and Royce. If you're comparing those two, I think Hendricks has a much bigger, better ceiling defensively than Royce, because physically he has all the tools there, and he's already not. I don't know, close to I think ceiling wise, Hendricks is over Royce, but I'd take Rudy over Kessler. It would be pretty even on that. Common Man says, I agree, 45 wins. People are underestimating this team. I have a feeling that these rookies are going to be special. Sexton is going to be on a mission. Laurie is a bad man. Yeah, I think the public kind of perception of this team is a little bit more on the underrated side. Because I think people really expect this team to make zero growth. It's kind of like they're going to stay very linear than they were last year. And I don't think that's going to happen. Either you're going to see a nice, like, 5 or 10 game jump, or you're going to see a little bit lower because the Jazz will realize we need to tank harder than we did last year or something like that. But, like, I don't see this team going 37 wins and then winning 38 next year. I think there's more to like from this team. Either the rookies get experienced and they lose a little more games, or they show out with a lot more talent and they win a little more. I just don't see a linear type of path here. Kessler has a lot to prove, especially after FIBA. He needs to show big. That's very true. Kessler's gonna have a super big role this year because he is he had like 20 minutes a game last year, and because he was like the 22nd pick or something like that. So it's not like he had all these sky high expectations coming in next year or last season. But now he has it. Now he has the weight that's like, okay, this guy is going to be the center of the future. We're going to try and build our defense or our defensive unit really around Kessler and his strengths. So it is a massive year for Kessler. I think a lot of how this team goes. I said earlier that a lot of this team goes how Laurie goes. If Kessler really pops out and becomes like a top 10 center in the league, again, this team's going to take a massive jump because of how well Kessler is going to do. So a lot of this season does fall on him because he will have that expanded pressure and role to grow into. But I think he does have all the capability to do it. I think FIBA is a really big help for him. Being around those types of players and that types of coaching and that environment is an invaluable experience. Not many players, as a part of a specialty team USA, can say they were a part of that. And for Walker Kessler to get that, that's pretty impressive. It's not only is it impressive, it's super encouraging, I think, for fans. Epic wallpapers. I really like the SpongeBob. That's funny. I put quite a few bets on the Jazz this year, LOL. I think people are going to be surprised with what they can do on both ends of the floor. Yeah, I think what this team really stands out with is two-way play, because you have this team has been built on top of that versatility and that they can present. Like, you have Taylor Hendricks who's going to come in. He can play both ends of the floor. Markkanen, not quite the most stellar defender, but he has the size to really match up with anyone he's gonna play against. Kessler, of course, great defender. And you have guys like in the backcourt like Keontae and Colin Sexton and Jordan Clarkson that help provide on the offensive end. So they do have a lot of two-way talent here, which makes it I think does make it a little bit underrated because the Jazz don't have that star talent. But I think if you're able to play hard on both ends of the floor, you're making it tough for any team on any given night. So putting a little bit of money on that, I don't hate that idea really. James comes in and says, I think we'll be a play-in team. We have more rim protection and three-point shooting than almost any other team in the league. Okay. Rim protect. Okay, so the rim protection, that's probably true because you do have Kessler. But yeah, no, I don't hate the rim. You have really good interior defense on this team because you have him and you have Hendricks, and then Olynyk will be off the bench. Yeah. So and 3-point shooting, I think a lot of this team will be based off 3-point, like, because you have Keontae George that is going to be a streaky shooter. But if he's like, he showed at Summer League that he was going to he was popping off like 20 points a game, not really shooting that poorly. But like, again, like you have Sexton and Clarkson and Ochai, and all these guys are going to be really good two-way type of guys. Or they play really well on one end of the floor or the other. So that's great. All right. I got to move quicker on these questions, and they're flying in. Appreciate y'all for coming in. Agreed on Laurie being the guy. Is Clarkson the X factor? I'm going to say no on X factor because there is so many options at guard for this team to really lean on. Because let's say if Clarkson doesn't show out well, you have Keontae George that you just drafted that can come in and take a spot. Sexton can come in and pop off. Taylor Horton Tucker. There's a lot of guys really like on the radar here to keep an eye on. So if Clarkson doesn't pop off like you really expect him to, there's like option A, B, C, D, and E down the board. So like that's probably okay. Like Clarkson can come in and be like a 16 point per game scorer, hopefully be a little bit more efficient, and it'll be a better outlook. Got Vesper coming in. Would you rather keep who would you rather keep between Coach Will Hardy and Trader Danny Ainge? It's not close. It's not close. I think Danny Ainge is the best GM that this league has to offer, and this is nothing against Will Hardy at all, because I think Will Hardy will be a really good coach. I think I Danny Ainge. I think you see a similar pattern to this team as far as coaching staff goes to what Danny Ainge was doing in Boston. He hired a really young coach to build with, and Brad Stevens, to like a defensive minded coach to come in and kind of rebuild the culture in Boston. They got a bunch of draft picks they built through the draft. They have a really competent core, and they build that culture and chemistry with those players and that coach. But again, that doesn't happen without Danny Ainge. And I think the way this team has found its success so far has been through Danny Ainge. Again, Will Hardy is a great coach, and I think he will be the Jazz coach for a long time. But if you're telling me, if you're asking like, hey, are we choose between a rising head coach, but no, not like the best in the league by any metric, or the best GM in the league, I would go toward the latter. The common man says, since the ball looks in shape, he has the same measurements and vitals as Jarris Walker. That is something I have noticed as well. I think in camp or pictures that we've seen come out in training camp are really encouraging, because I think his build in college was a little bit. He was. I'm not gonna. It wasn't like overweight and he wasn't out of shape, but he was more on the. What's the word I'm thinking of? Okay, well, let's just say he wasn't like the most lean guy. Okay, but now I've seen pictures of him now. Like he looks like he's more like physically adept. He's been in the weight room clearly, and that's really good, especially when you come to the NBA. Conditioning is a super big thing. I don't think Sensible had like such a big issue with that, but yeah. Measurements and values of Jarris Walker, that's huge. Jarris Walker is a demon as far as physicals go. He's a monster. So to have Sensible and be that elite scorer on that, that's super good. Epic wallpapers come in. Actually, hold up. Why am I showing? Let's pop up full screen here. I don't know. I've been showing the standings here for like the past 10 minutes. I lost my mind at the Hendricks pick. He was my favorite college player ever. It'll take a bit, but he's been a fan favorite for me for sure. Just so much fun to watch while he's on. When the Hendricks pick first came out, I didn't think it was the wrong move. I kind of wanted to lean Grady Dick, because I was a Grady Dick fan from day one. I think he's actually underrated as a prospect, like taking all the funny stuff out of it. Like he's actually probably going to be a good player. He fits like what the Jazz need in terms of shooting and versatility. But with Hendricks, I think I agree. It takes that time to really get him established, but he has the size, defensive ability, and three-point shooting already down. Anything else he needs to improve on, that can come later on. But you have the very clear, most important things in an NBA player already established from year one. If he can really enhance and establish himself in all other areas of the game, like playmaking, on ball, it's same stuff as Larry Markkinen. Really, they're like really good off ball guys and really good fits in a lot of different lineups, but to really be that high quality starter, he needs to improve as like a creator himself and really take more of that offensive responsibility. But I'm sure he's gonna be super fun to watch just because of that defensive ability and everything else. Like I think if you're able to have a really good defender and shooter, it's easy to cheer for him because he goes out and does what a team needs every single night. So yeah, I completely agree. Love the profile picture too. James says Markin is an A tier rim protector for I can't read. Okay, my fault. Markin is an A tier rim protector for small forward Collins, and also not that bad. Yeah. I mean, Markin. I mean, he has a size matchup. It's more difficult because he's playing like the three mainly now. I mean, I think he's probably playing more. Well, okay, so he was. In lineups last year, he was like 3, 4, and 5 with him, Olynyk, and Kessler. So that big of a lineup, it's going to be tough to stop going anywhere in the interior. So you're right. It's just if they play bigger, they're going to find that elite rim protection. But I think where things might get a little more difficult is how how you're able to match up with smaller guys or smaller lineups. Like look at a team like Golden State. If you run at them with guys like Lauri Markkanen and Kessler and Olynyk on the same floor at the same time, you're getting abused. That's all it comes down to. You got to be versatile and you got to be able to match up with any team in the league. Like the giant lineup that Utah's had and that Cleveland's had whenever they had Markkanen is fun and it's interesting. On-court success, I'm not sure, but for Collins to play small forward, I don't hate that. Okay, sorry, I gotta catch this. Okay, husky. The word is husky. Okay, it wasn't exactly the word I was thinking of, but that'll work for Bryce Sensabaugh. He was a little more on the husky side, but now I can't even say that about him. He's looking a lot better now. Sorry, I kind of interrupted myself, but I thought that was funny. Yeah, we gotta move on here, dude. I'm getting swarmed here, man. I appreciate it. Got moving down here. Got Ian coming in. What's up, Ian? Do you see the Jazz making the playoffs next season? Play in, probably, maybe again. Like I was saying earlier, it's going to be a little bit tougher to expect this team to make a playoff push when the conference around you is so talented. Well, I mean, your roster's like really talented top to bottom too. A lot of depth. But in a conference like the West, you got to have the top tier talent that sticks out, really. Like, I mean, like if Lauri Markkanen can come in and like keep the same efficiency stats, like, keeps like have the same offensive responsibility, but, gets his teammates involved, gets more of like, becomes more of I was thinking about this earlier. He'd become more of an initiator and an alpha dog more than a benefactor. I was looking it up. I think it was a few weeks ago, but I think it was around 85%. I'll probably have to double check this. Don't take 100% confidence in this, in my word for saying this, but I think it was around 85% of Markkanen's shots came off assists from last year. And again, that shows credit to what this team was doing ball movement wise last year and getting Lauri the ball. But to become one of those really great players on a team, you're gonna have to create those shots yourself and find that offensive impact yourself. Like look at a guy like Jaylen Brown, a perfect example. Jaylen Brown struggles to really initiate himself as the number one option on the team. He struggles to put the ball on the floor. Showed in game 7, like you'll hear 7 turnovers, blah, blah, blah. If you put Lauri Markkanen in the same situation, he could do the same exact thing because he doesn't create extremely well on ball. But if you were to improve that, if you were to actually take command of the offensive, and he will have to on this team because they don't have a guy like Mike Conley coming in and distributing the ball to him. Like Markkanen he'll be forced to take that responsibility on himself to score the rock at will because he won't have a playmaker, and this roster probably won't have one like a lean on playmaker. Like Markkanen will have to take that role. Ian says, "Are you from Utah?" No. Next, epic wallpapers. I guess my big prediction would be that the first half of the year Utah struggles, but the back half I could see them playing as one of the best teams in the league. I think they get the 6th seed. So okay, okay. It's perfect time to pull this back up. Let's pull this back up. 6th seed is a tall. Okay, wait, that one doesn't look as good. That's better. 6th seed would be a very tall. If they get a top 6 seed, man, that's really, really, really impressive. But logically, you'd have to find a team in the top 6 to replace them with. And you'll have to look down the road or down the line as well. Nuggets, they're not going to beat the Nuggets. Grizzlies, I think even without Ja, they're a better top to bottom team, have more star talent. I don't see them really being better than them. Kings, I don't think really fall off from where they were last year. They haven't done anything to really warrant that. I don't see a massive fall off here to where the Jazz really overtake them. Suns won't be doing that. Clippers, Warriors, Lakers, again, all 3 teams that I think a lot of it bases on health. If they're fully healthy, they are better teams. And so like that's 7 right there. I mean, I could keep going, but I mean, I think you get it. But the back half, okay. So back half of the year, I think, I forget if it's really difficult in the schedule or really really easy. I think it might be really easy on the stretch. I think the schedule starts hard, and then it gets really easy after the All-Star break, and then it gets harder. I don't know. I have to double check the schedule, but If they, I think after the All-Star break, you'll see these rookies kind of get their footing set a little bit more, which I think you could make that more of a second half type of team. Favorite Jazz player ever? I think I gotta go Donovan Mitchell. I think Donovan Mitchell. I had to pop out with the signed hat from Donovan Mitchell here. Can I pull up the? There we go. Got the Donovan Mitchell sign hat here. I think if I were to say anyone more than Donovan Mitchell, I think that'd be a little bit foolish. Like, of course, like he's on the team anymore. He got traded, blah blah blah. But again, I go Don. Moving on. Blah 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 blah. No, I don't need this. Why am I pulling that up? All right. Happy Guap is back. Apologies for so many comments. No apologies for too many comments. We love comments around here. We love seeing engagement, bro. If you have a comment to share, drop it in here. I love talking to people, bro. Talking about Jazz basketball, doesn't matter. But I think Lucas Samanic, I still struggle to say his name, is one of the most hidden talents we have. His IQ and all-around abilities are going to be huge off the bench. If he can find – so Luke is interesting. I saw he was talking earlier in the offseason about trying to copy pretty much everything Laurie was doing in the offseason to try and get that type of jump. He does have the shooting stroke. I mean, he was a first-round pick by San Antonio. I think it was 4 years ago. He clearly has some tools that teams were interested in. But his IQ, I mean, it just all depends on the opportunity he's going to get, On a team with about 10, 11, 12 players to play, commanding a super high jump from a guy like Samanic, not unreasonable, but it's going to be a little bit harder than a guy like Keontae or Taylor Hendricks that has longer-term plans for this team that might actually get that shot. But Samanic, I think he has the size and the shooting ability, I think, to come in, at least be an impactful player in the rotation. But it just depends on if he really gets that. Sorry for the comment split. Utah could overtake Golden State. That's my boldest take. It's interesting because that's interesting because Utah and Golden State are two teams that are on like the complete opposite ends of the spectrum. You have Golden State that has really good star talent, really top heavy, really old, not a lot of size, like established talent. And like there's that. Like what you get with Golden State. Utah, very unpredictable, young, brand new head coach, big size, like they're polar opposites. So I think to predict one of the over the other, that's just how you feel personally. I don't think that's like the worst decision. It's not the worst prediction. I think maybe the lack of size that Golden State had, especially like they hadn't lost against they lost in the Lakers series because of it mainly. Because it's like Looney is like 6'7" and Draymond's like 6'6", and you're going up against guys like Jokic and even guys like Markkanen or Sabonis. I'm thinking or AD, big mid conference. It's hard to match up against those, even with a guy like Draymond. Like you got to have size in this league, and you always have. And like the small ball trend is popular, and you're going to see teams do it more and more. But like you just saw Giannis win a chip, you just saw Jokic win a chip. Like these big guys are still dominating. So I don't know. I don't know how Golden State's going to really do this year, especially with Chris Paul. If he's starting, that could make this team even smaller and older. I don't know how that really fares. So I don't hate that prediction. I couldn't do it myself just because I can't really bet against Golden State. But yeah, I don't hate that. Vesper pops in. What's up? What's up? Would you trade Laurie for Moses Moody, Kuminga, and 3 Golden State Warrior first-round picks, or Trey Murphy, Jordan Hawkins, Dyson Daniels, and 2 firsts for Laurie from the Pels? All right, so you definitely got some interesting proposals here. Moody, Kuminga, 3 first round. Okay, no on the Warriors one. I'll tell you why. Moses Moody, I haven't seen anything from really. He hasn't really got much opportunity. Kuminga, same type of deal. Like you kind of have more with Kuminga. I think a lot of people like Kuminga a little bit more. And then 3 Golden State picks. Those 3 picks would probably not be very good picks. Like you're trading Laurie for 2 kind of shots, like 2 kind of dart throws, and 3 first round picks that are probably like mid 20s. So kind of similar kind of package that this kind of has the same type of package that the Heat are kind of offering for Lillard, or I can kind of see like the resemblance here. I wouldn't do the Warriors deal for that because I think there probably would be better out there for Laurie. Like the Pelicans one, like Trey Murphy, Jordan Hawkins, Dyson Daniels, and 2 firsts. I'd be interested in that one for sure because I like Trey Murphy a lot. Hawkins will be a really nice shooter. Daniels had 1 year, wasn't fantastic, and 2 firsts. Like that's essentially 3 young guys to make kind of make do with. And man, I don't know. I would you probably give me till the trade deadline to think about. I would probably say wait until the trade deadline, see how this team looks. If they're looking to make a move to try and push, I'd probably I would consider the Pelicans one just because that's a lot of young assets to take care of. And if you're not looking super competitive by that point at the trade deadline, you might as well. Well, yeah, you could re-sign Laurie, but I don't know. That's a tough one. Right now, I would say no. Ask me to get the trade deadline. That's what I would say to that. Chris Dunn is my personal wild card. I feel like he still has a lot to offer. He was showing out last year. Plus, his influence on Keontae will be critical. Dunn has heart. Okay, yeah. So I've talked about Dunn in the past here. And my take on Dunn is, I think he can be a good player, good rotational player. He clearly has a lot to offer on the defensive side of the ball. One of, if not the best passer at the point guard position on this team. So if you're, a lot of people have said it. If you are going to, if you're going to try and win games immediately from this, starting Chris Dunn could be the guy to start just because he does have the defensive and passing ability that this team would probably need at the position. But as far as finding a long-term role in this team, it's difficult because he is 29 already and he is on that 1 year non-guaranteed deal. So again, he is a really good player. I think he can be really good for the team this year if he gets the minutes but it is a loaded point guard group with a lot of talent, a lot of minutes to go around. And if Chris Dunn can find an opportunity in there, I think he'll be great. But he has to beat out 4 other guys to do that. That's what I would say to that. But I think his influence on Keontae will be definitely critical because he has the type of qualities that you would want Keontae to build on. Like it's defense and playmaking. And if Keontae can find both of those, he can be really, really good. Love D Mitch too. Guessing you met Terry Rozier too. I did meet Terry Rozier too. He was cool. Yeah. Bro, thank you for talking Jazz basketball. Appreciate the comment, man. Thank you for stopping around. This is the biggest kind of turnout we've had so far. Longest stream we've had, man. It probably comes with the season kind of coming around. We have more things to talk about, more intrigue, I guess. But yeah, I've had a ton of fun tonight, man. Appreciate y'all for coming out. Got crazy theoretical here from Epic Wallpapers. If Keontae has a Donovan type rookie season and John Collins get back to his peak, Utah have a top 4 seed. So, okay, look at the roster top to bottom here with this theoretical hypothetical. You'd have Keontae probably starting at point guard. You'd have, let's say Clarkson for now. He could maybe be like a 6 man in this role. You start at Baji to get that defense in there. Who knows? You get one of those two, Markkanen. If Collins is averaging 20 and 10 and Kessler and has that type of jump, that's a really good starting 5 and a really good bench. If they can get these things to go their way, I don't think a top 4 is that unattainable because you have a well-rounded group at that point, a young group, like abilities on both ends of the floor. And even if you lose 1 or 2 guys on the team, you have young guys and other guys ready to step in and make that role too, or ready to make that jump. This is a bold one. Top four, especially in the West, is really, really good. If this happened, I mean, there isn't much to complain about in the season at all. Top 4 seed though. If this hypothetical happened or theoretical, whatever it is, if you want to call it that, I would definitely say top 4 is attainable, but it just depends on if this really happens. If Keontae can show that he can be efficient, in his scoring, like he was averaging 20 a game in summer league and showing out. All the 3 games that he played, he was playing really, really well. If he can just keep that pace going for the near future, I think he could reach John Mitchell levels because he's going to be pinned in a role to be the scoring future guard for this team. So I think the Jazz are going to try and accomplish that. Really, they can put them in position to do that. Oh man, can I get off? I had like a whole thing of notes here ready to like go on about the Jazz expectations, and we got a whole conversation here. That's ideal though. Holy train! I don't know if y'all hear that train or not, but that thing is massive. But yeah, I think all right here. We got James here coming in. What's up, James? We got top 4 this season. Next off season, we go star shopping. Okay, but do we though? Like, all right, here we go. If the Jazz got a top 4 seed, do they search for a star next year? Here's why I would say no. I don't know. I don't know if you do, because you have at that point, if you have a top 4 seed and you have that moving forward, and then like 12 first round picks to move forward, you just keep reaping the rewards from that, man. Like I think pulling your assets in for a star, like if it ain't broke, don't fix it. You know, like you could go in and put everything in for a star, like, but if they're doing that well, I mean, why not? Why not? Epic Wallpapers coming in. Really love this content, by the way. First time catching it live. Really aren't a lot of good Jazz YouTubers like you. Appreciate it, bro. We're gonna try and get things moving forward to the season. Like we got one. I do one stream a week here. But once the season goes around, we'll have more content to produce. So probably more like actually uploaded videos, and like more like maybe more scripted content, or like actually like I don't know. We'll figure out on that end, but I think closer to the season you'll start seeing more from here. But I appreciate you for showing up. Glad you're enjoying. Top 4 takes the Kings route. Okay. Well, here, all right. We'll end on this because I had one note to make about how you can compare the Jazz season next year. But the Kings route, I mean, that could work. I think a more realistic route for this Jazz team to take. All right, yeah, we'll end it on this. I think if you're considering everything, like realistic expectations for what this Jazz team will be accomplishing, here's what I would say. If you look at all the teams that are here last year and how everything shaked out, the Thunder are a very good model for this. Like they have the first round picks, they have the talent, they have like young stars are going to pop out, and they can make the jump, and they're going to show some strides and some positive steps moving forward. But the leap into the playoffs in this type of conference might take a little bit longer than it would in the East. You know, let's go to the East. Like if the Jazz were in the East, where do they stand? If the Jazz were in the Eastern Conference, they are probably there. If the Jazz are in the East, they are a top 6 seed, no question. I think they're better than the Knicks, Hawks, maybe Heat jump up here and there, but yeah, no. I think the Jazz are absolutely. If the Jazz were in the if the Jazz were in the East, they're playoffs. It's just the competition around them is not generous. It's not. It's giving them a rough hand to deal with, and that's okay. It gives a nice development path for the young guys. You're gonna get the toughest talent. You're gonna play against the toughest guys night in and night out, and you're gonna have to stack up with them one way or another. And they're gonna find a way to do that, whether it be through 20 games won or 50. But Carwash coming in saying take the Denver route. That would be ideal. If that were to happen, maybe they do take the Denver route. I don't know. I mean, yeah, let's let Lauri Markkanen develop into Nikola Jokic, or Omer Yurtseven will be Nikola Jokic. But yeah, I think that's about going to be all I have for today. I'm going to probably go watch some Thursday night football here. Hopefully the Vikings pull out that one. I'm an Eagles hater, so we'll see. We'll see how that goes. All right. Okay. All right. Here. All right. We're ending on the Simone take. All right. On this, my take on Simone Fontecchio, rookie last year. I don't want to come off hating on Simone, but man, where do you find a place for him on the roster? Like, if you're gonna bring him on the team to be like that shooter and shot creator off the bench, you might as well play Luka. Like Luka can be the guy that comes in. He's probably has a higher ceiling than Simone does. If you need that backup 3, you could go to Sensible to do that. But if Simone can come in and be more than really a shooter, maybe there is a route for him to finding a more established role in this rotation. But again, same thing with Samanic. I think it's difficult to find a significant role in this rotation for next season, at least right off rip, with the guys that are going to be ahead of him. Because you'll have Taylor Horton-Tucker, Like the bench five off rip will probably be Taylor Horton Tucker, Keontae George, Bryce Sensabaugh, Hendricks. I just threw all three rookies in there. Who knows how that really shakes out? And then Kelly Olynyk probably. It could change. It could adjust here and there. That's 10 guys already, and then you have Chris Dunn too. Yeah, don't even forget Chris Dunn. That's 11 guys on in the rotation that you already have to get significant minutes. And so finding a role for Fontecchio is going to be a little bit difficult than it was last year because you essentially have the same roster you do, but you have 4 more guys ahead of him that will probably be getting more minutes. So again, like he could come out and be like that spark plug off the bench to come in and shoot 2-3 3-pointers when you really need it. But like a super big depth piece. I don't know. I got Skull here. I agree. I don't know if they're gonna win the night though. Plus Sexton, plus one of Sexton, Clarkson, Baji. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, one of them will be at the bench and they'll be getting significant minutes, and then you also have like Tucker, and then everything like that. And yeah, so like Fontecchio, I wish him nothing but the best, and I hope he comes in averaging 30 points per game. It's just how much of that opportunity will be there from the start. But yeah, that's where I'm ending it right here. I'm ending it right here. It's gone. This is the longest stream that we've had for the entire history, but I really appreciate everyone popping out. Make sure we will be back here same date and time. Not same date. Fast forward next week, next Thursday, same time. We'll be here, same channel, same setup. Probably maybe something changes within a week, but yeah, man. Really appreciate. We got Epic Wallpaper Showing. I appreciate you. Car Wash Channel, Ozwalkie, Andrew, Common Man, James pops in. Best chat room on the internet. Appreciate you. And did I miss anyone else? Vesper was coming in here earlier. Had Ian. You gotta show all the love. I don't know. We had somebody. Yeah, I had a ton of people coming in. But yeah, I'll catch you all next week. Go Vikings tonight. But yeah, appreciate y'all. Let me pull out the outro real quick. All right. I'll catch y'all later. See y'all.